It's time we face realities and, of course, not live in denial of the realities unfolding before us. We can paradoxically say that Nigeria is at war with itself, with the level of insecurity and uncertainty rocking the entire length and breadth of this country. It is becoming more clearer that Nigeria may not survive, of course, this level of hostility that is going on. It's been reported that about six policemen are, of course, now wanted or has been declared missing, and six of them have been confirmed dead. What is happening in the renewed attack? Who is the brain behind these attacks? It becomes very clear that this war cannot, Nigeria can't win this war by the use of barrels of gun. We must come to the negotiation table, and of course, people should be allowed to make, of course, input and decide where to belong. It is no longer news that Nigeria is ever divided more than ever in history. And the more time, of course, rolls by, the more it becomes more clearer that the center could no longer hold. That not even the military could be considered to be safe within the territorial integrity of the Nigerian state. This is not just an external aggression, but internal, of course, rifts consuming all and sundry within the Nigerian state. And it's quite unfortunate, it's quite unfortunate, but then that is the reality that more casualties will be recorded on both sides. Of course, some state actors or whatever you might call them are taking on, are do advantage of this. Of course, recklessness on both sides, cashing out, unleashing mayhem. But the reality points to the fact that Nigeria is no longer one. If you are denying it, then that will be to your own peril. Nigeria is no longer one. And under no circumstances should the masses be confused to believe that Nigeria is one. The campaign, the propagandas to convince Nigerians that Nigeria remains one continue to fail as the day goes by. With the level of killing, you can't tell me that militaries who are supposed to protect the citizens are now turning against the citizens, and the aggrieved citizens who felt, of course, embittered by the level of intimidation, suppression of the instruments of the state, are now turning against the same instruments of the state who should have provided safety, security, and of course, enabling environment to strive. But that is not the case as far as the current or present Nigeria is now. You see, of most recent, we are at Okoma community. It was alleged that of the community or some group of persons who, for whatever reason best known to them, decided, of course, to unleash such mayhem on the military officers, being that they felt aggrieved, according to some reports, that their own persons were killed, and as such, in retaliation, they have to unleash the same level of brutality, cruelty on the military personnel, and this have escalated to the extent that the entire community has been raised by the military uh, personnel after the directive was given by the president, who happens to be the great commander of the armed forces, for the perpetrators of such crime to be hunted down. But have they succeeded in such, of course, an action? Have the government achieved its aim and purpose? Unfortunately, they left more destruction than trying to mend issues. The more you become more brutal to the citizens, the more you develop more hatred, more dissatisfaction on the part of the civilians against the military. being perceived as the enemies of the people, of the civilians, which unfortunately keep deepening and widening this level of uncertainty. Well, how long will this continue? Becomes an endless rhetoric. It is quite sad that some persons appears to be untouchable, and the militaries, having underscored the antecedents, could no longer touch them because they are untouchable. They are power makers, and as such, should not be confronted, even when they are constituting crisis or fueling the crisis. But if you are to be in some parts of the country, precisely the eastern part, such persons should have been hunted down. You would have seen, of course, the DSS swinging into action to either arrest or squeeze that particular person. But such, of course, is not in the interest of a healthy coexistence. If you want to build a system that should be trusted, that everybody should be perceived to be equal before the law, this is not how you go about it. Now, in the case of Mazem Nandikanu, who has spoken very clear about his positions and his mission or what he represents or what he stands for, having expressed the four cardinal points, which is the fulcrum, of course, of their pursuit for the restoration of dignity of human life, and of course, the preservation of their posterity, having seen that the Nigerian state does not foster any prospect or any, of course, future for the supposed defunct Biafrans or Eastern region. To this end, of course, Mazin Namdekanu has come this far, of course, to reiterate his own commitment and dedication to ensuring the liberty and the freedom of his people becomes a dream comes true. And to this end, he has made known to the world that he's not backing down against so many expectations, despite his ordeal and suffering and subjugations, how he has been treated. He preferred to die than living the world of the life of a cowardice. Of course, he believed, of course, and willing to die for what he believed. Being that his conscience is justified before God and man, he said the courage to face and confront the enemies, not to be afraid before the enemies, and of course, to ensure the safety and security of the average Biafrans, and to contribute to the welfare and the well being of the less privileged or downtrodden within the society. This forms, of course, the major fulcrum that's upon which the Biafran struggle stands, and to ensure equity and justice for all, which unfortunately, according to him, and that by what we can see, it is no longer deniable, that such is far, of course, from being realistic in Nigeria. We are in the state of quagmire. And of course, Mazim Namdekanu is a free man because he has freed his conscience. He has freed, of course, uh, the the to live a life he believed and to follow a path he most cherished, the path of liberty, the path of freedom for his people. And this no one can take from him. He has chosen what is important, and no one can take that from him. And of course, millions are trusting and believing, having confidence in his leadership, and of course, in his position or commitment to this noble cause, which of course he is incarcerated, and eventually his bail was denied. Well, whatever happens, the reality keep unfolding. Has Nigeria ever enjoyed the peace, even through the barrels of God? The question remains a capital no. then what is the way forward? How can a community, how can a nation be at war with itself? Why is that why is it that we cannot enjoy peace? Why is it that there's so much bickering, bitterness, and distrust among different ethnic nationalities? Even among the security operatives, the government and the governed have very wide gap and disparity. No one could ever trust each other, of course, to guarantee the safety and security of their lives and their loved ones. And this acrimony keep on widening, and some feel to deny or to turn away from the realities. But whatever happens, we are not getting out of the woods anytime soon. Let Mazin Nandikano be released. That is my candid opinion, has been expressed by other quarters of prominent personalities, just as the bishops are calling for the release of Mazin Nandikano to restore peace, tranquility, and stability in the eastern parts of the country that have experienced the worst receivedness, of course, after the Civil War. Between 1966, 67 to 1970, the Biafran or the eastern region have never experienced such level of chaos, if not of most recent. It's of course taking unusual dimension, which of course will, if not well managed, might culminate into another bloody civil war. If that becomes necessary as the only panacea, but we don't call for that. But indications and signs have abound that Nigeria is headed for the creep, because you cannot be at war with yourself and think you can survive it. Let the needful be done before it becomes too late. My interest lies in the preservation of humanity. Humanity has faced, of course, so much threat of extinction in Nigeria. Human lives and the sacredness of human lives is not has been desecrated. The value for human life has been lost to the extent that people can be wiped out, even children and teenagers could be killed and their blood wasted without any sympathy, without any recourse that these are just the future generations. They wouldn't, of course, refrain from unleashing mayhem on innocent and defenseless citizens only because they feel they have the bullets and the gun at their disposal to unleash mayhem. We are not supporting any criminality or any killing of persons, whether they are uniformed men or civilians, because it is a total disregard for rule of law and humanity, and as such should be condemned. But that notwithstanding, you cannot correct an error with a bigger error. That amounts to catastrophe, building up. Yes, because when people felt that they are no longer secured except they take up arms in defense of themselves, then everybody must take caution, because it will redefine their perception and, of course, sense of judgment. An eye for an eye, a teeth for an teeth, tooth for teeth, and you know what that means. It is quite unfortunate. It is not something we desired, but we have been trapped in this mess. How do we get out of this? If no solution could be proffered, I have a lasting solution. This solution of Nigeria will bring an enduring peace to each regions. And of course, they will control their own resources and security, and manage the internal rifts or crisis. Rather than being trapped in this collective state of motionless and despair. Circumventing within a cycle and not making any progress is just living in the shadow of the reality. Let me leave you with these provoking thoughts and know what is your reactions regarding this. Remain blessed until we come your way in the next edition. I remain Chigoze Ndibo, the host anchor and public analyst. Bye until we see you again.